Earlier, I spoke to Paul Bledsoe, a senior fellow in the Climate and Energy Program at the German Marshall Fund. I began by asking him how serious he thinks the smog problem is for China.
Well, a lot of people are believing that major Chinese cities are becoming almost unlivable. The health risks are 10 times what the World Health Organization recommends. We have levels now that are reducing life expectancies in northern China by an average of 5 years. And more than 1 million people are dying a year prematurely. So this is a crisis.
It's a crisis, but it's not the first country to deal with this. Of course, the Great Smog of 1952, I grew up in Southern California.
That's a good point. Right?
And countries can turn the corner,
They can.
and they can actually be taking steps, and you don't see it daily. How long does it take to really kind of get your arms around this and really reduce things?
Well, the government recognizes the problem and is really beginning to put pressure on major industries to reduce emissions. They have the regulations in place, but the regulators need more authority to actually force the cuts. Just recently, the Chinese government decided to offer some cash incentives to industries and provinces that will reduce emissions. So it's going to take a lot of pressure on specific industries, especially coal-fired utilities and major industrial utilities, to reduce their emissions. But as you say, we can do this. This happened in Europe, this happened in the United States, and it can happen in China. And we can have better air quality and lower greenhouse gas emissions within 5 or 10 years if we really begin to take these steps.
Are there lessons learned from London and Los Angeles that are transferable in China, or are there different issues?
No, there are lessons, and the lessons are use the best technology, make sure you deploy it throughout the economy, become more energy efficient. China right now is very energy inefficient, so they're having to produce much more energy than they really need to, which leads to more coal emissions. So we have the technologies to deal with this problem. And I think the government deserves credit for recognizing the problem. Now they have to go the next step and really crack down on the emitters who are in fact breaking the law.
In some respects, though, the victims in a lot of these other cities are also kind of the perpetrators in a sense. I know, having grown up in Southern California, take my car away from me, forget it. What can average people do to help with the situation, or can they do much at all?
They can use energy themselves more efficiently. They can buy more efficient, lower emitting vehicles themselves and appliances in their homes. They can invest in energy efficient heating and cooling. All of these things make a huge difference. You know, California in the last 20 years, their economy has doubled, and yet they use less energy today than they did 20 years ago. This does not have to sacrifice economic growth at all. In fact, there's an argument that it will actually improve economic growth because this kind of smog is really killing productiveness of workers. I mean, there's a huge economic cost in health impairment from this pollution, and that isn't normally factored into the economic equation.
But there are some who say that this is the price tag for success, this enormous productivity.
Have to be. No, it doesn't have to be. 50 years ago, it did have to be. That's just the way the state of the technology is. Now, we don't have to do it that way. There's movement toward renewable energy, which China is investing in. There's talk of developing lower emitting and much cleaner natural gas resources in China. There are a whole host of ways China can avoid this kind of air pollution and, in fact, the greenhouse gas emissions that go along with it.